Rainald Becker is the editor-in-chief of the public broadcaster ARD and also its coordinator for politics, society and culture. I have tried to look for a picture of him on Commons, Wiki Commons to find something license-free. We are always a bit concerned about the copyright issues. The ARD, like the BBC, are copyright Nazis, as you probably know. And I could not find a picture of him. You may find out on your own in this video why that is. I will not give you a direct statement about this. You can guess. So I have created this little sketch for you. And maybe you can remember him better looking at it. Of course, I'm kidding. I'm showing some footage of his, so you have some impression of what this guy is like and what he says. The following footage will be of the year 2010. And what is interesting about it is that it reveals basically that he has connections to the military. I have already made a video about the media military complex, which you will find linked below. And you can tell that this guy is inspired or told by the military what to do by his aggressive nature, and that he tries to rile up people. This is not a natural behavior of somebody who just tries to explain how things are. He's far more aggressive than people on CNN, for example. And you can already tell by his very position, for Pete's sake. I mean, he is the ARD coordinator for politics, society and culture, and the editor-in-chief of the largest public broadcaster in the Western world. You can already tell by this position that he has connections to the Pentagon, and they certainly have a hot wire into his office. So here you have some footage of what he has to say.
Der Rechtsstaat darf nicht einknicken, muss wehrhaft sein. Er braucht starke Gesetze, gute Polizisten und vernünftige Politiker. Solche, die nicht gleich wie ein Pawlowscher Hund anfangen zu sabbern, wenn es um Vorratsdatenspeicherung und schärfere Sicherheitsgesetze geht. Der FDP und all den anderen, die gern und schnell das hohe Lied von Bürgerrecht und Datenschutz singen, sei hier gesagt: Bitte übertreibt es nicht. Was Sicherheitsmaßnahmen zum Schutz der Bürger angeht, sollten wir uns an den USA orientieren. Telefonüberwachung, Online-Durchsuchung, Datenspeicherung und ab und zu ein Fingerabdruck, das ist kein Teufelszeug.
What is interesting about this is that it shows an attempt to create anti-American resentment. First, he claims that Americans would not mind oppressive measures like surveillance, being tapped, having online surveillance again. This kind of oppressive measures would be fine with Americans, and you would also have to accept this. So this creates this entire colonialism feel that he's probably trying also to create. And it is interesting that the CIA, the Pentagon, and whoever is involved in this, that these people have such strong anti-American feelings. What people often don't get is that the left has infiltrated the highest positions of power, and that includes the top-notch parts of the military in the US. And while they rework Washington into the next Moscow, they are still kind of socialist. So they hate America. They always hated America. For whatever reason, this is built into socialism. And I think the deeper reasons for this is that they hate freedom. And there's no better representation of freedom so far than the United States of America. This is the driver. You cannot reconcile freedom and socialism. So the socialists taking control over America will still try to create anti-American sentiments. And this is what you see play out when Stooge, who heads the ARD, is making this propaganda that lets Americans look crazy and evil and so on. Now Mr. Becker has sent out a tweet that is also quite interesting. He says that who after 30 years still calls the party LINKE SED has nothing understood or learned. And indeed, he is factually right, because the SED is not the predecessor of LINKE. It is the LINKE. And to understand actually what is going on, you have to see the name changes for the start. SED, which was the party that controlled the East German dictatorship, first renamed itself to SED-PDS, then to PDS, then to Linkspartei.PDS, that then merged with a fringe Western party called Voting Alternative Social Justice, and is now LINKE. You had all these name changes for A, the confusion of the public, and B, to keep the property of the party alive. Gregor Gysi, the party leader after the last dictator Erich Honecker, was often said to have been involved in siphoning away this money. What is sure is that he campaigned a lot to keep the party alive and not to get it dissolved. He campaigned for the name changes and for the combination with this fringe Western party. A part of his heritage is that the SED property was preserved. In January 1990, it was, according to its own records, 9.5 billion Eastmark. That was the currency in East Germany back then. Only a few months later, in July of the same year, that went down to 3.5 billion Eastmark. And it is not quite clear where this money has gone. It is a detective story. If you can find it out, lucky you, but you should already prepare yourself for a suicide like Mr. Epstein recently. How much is 9.5 billion Eastmark? It was exchanged, the Eastmark was exchanged to the German mark, D-Mark, in 1990, and the exchange cost was 1-to-1. So that would be 9.5 billion mark. And when the euro was introduced, that was exchanged 1-to-2. So these 9.5 billion Eastmark then were worth 4.75 billion euro at inflation, and you can kind of guess how much money that was. It was in fact the richest party in Europe back then. So they have never dissolved and they have remained in place. They are still legally the same union, which grants them the property rights. So Mr. Becker was right. It is misinformed to suggest they were just the heirs of the SED. No, LINKE is indeed still the SED with all the properties and everything else. Thank you for listening.